Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This is where you get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock, including news of a rebounding US economy. We start with the US Fed issuing its regular FOMC review and not surprising markets with anything unexpected. The pace of bond purchase has been decreased, with that program to end in October. They maintain their signal that it will be a considerable time before they expect to raise interest rates because they want to see more solidly improving labour markets, which is code for rising wages. Bond purchases may be ending, but don't forget the Fed has now a massive balance sheet. That's of $4.4 trillion US dollars. Still, in perspective, that is still about 30% of US GDP. The US economy is certainly improving. Data out overnight, the advanced estimate of second quarter GDP growth surprised markets with its strength. GDP growth came in at 4% rather than the expected 3%. Remember, this is just an advanced estimate and will be subject to 2 more revisions. The first quarter decline reported was also revised to be significantly less than earlier thought. And the precursor ADP labour market report also came out overnight, and that showed jobs growth lower in July than the red-hot pace previously recorded in June. However, it was the 4th straight month of gains above 200,000. In England, their central bank has proposed some new rules that senior bankers could be forced to pay back bonuses as long as 7 years after they're awarded, along with possible jail terms, rules designed to curb short-term risk-taking. Industry reacted by saying the new rules might hurt London's reputation in the financial world. Seems to me they might improve it, but expect some serious pushback. Closer to home, the AFR is reporting on the extent of the corruption surrounding the RBA-owned banknote business Securrency. There is an Australian censorship order concerning a multi-million-dollar corruption case explicitly naming the current and past heads of the state of Indonesia, Malaysia and Vietnam, their relatives and other senior officials. Names are named and is sure to embarrass everyone involved, as it should. Default is close for Argentina now, but a top Argentine banker and a former economy ministry official have arrived in New York today to make last-minute proposal aimed at averting the country's second default in 13 years. In mid-afternoon trade today, US Treasury 10-year yields jumped to 2.54%. Local interest rate swaps are ending the month near 6 weeks lows, although today's New York rises may give them a final burst higher. The oil price fell again overnight, and the US benchmark is just on $100 a barrel. On the Brent benchmark, it is now $106 a barrel. Gold also fell and is now at $1,296 an ounce. We start the day with the New Zealand dollar lower again following a stronger US dollar. We're now just at 84.9 US cents, and that's a 7-week low, just over 91 Aussie cents, and the TWI is at 79.6. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.